Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, geeks, nerds, fanboys and girls of all ages, welcome back to yet another exciting season of the Vigilant Geek podcast. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, we are now in season 2 of this epic pop culture adventure that we're taking you on. I'd like to introduce myself here. I am Andrew Puzak of Vigilant Geek Media, and with me, as always, is
Holden Orm of Vigilant Geek Media.
And we have a very exciting and high-octane episode for you to kick off Season 2 of the Vigilant Geek podcast. We're going to give you a very in-depth, very opinionated DC Comics universe update today. I would say, there's no more appropriate way to kick off this episode than to first and foremost address the huge news within the DCU. Now, throughout history, DC execs have had a long track record of sort of gaining huge fan bases and then pissing them off with new publishing initiatives, which involve new different continuities and origin stories and what have you. Well, for those Gold and Silver Age fans out there, obviously there were some issues with that when the New 52 came around. Well, for those New 52 fans like myself, I'm somebody who sort of really became a concrete DC guy at the beginning of the New 52. I guess without further ado, this is sort of the point where I get let down with the new publishing initiative that DC has decided to go with coming up in the next few months in REBIRTH. Now, Holden, you have a ton of factoids about REBIRTH. I'd love for you to just jump right in and fill us in, because I actually I don't know much about it except that I'm dreading it. As a New 52 guy, I am dreading it. But without further ado,
yeah, DC, they have a really hard time just developing their fringe characters. So what they decided to do is we're going to go ahead and I guess it was like right after the Flashpoint arc, they went ahead and then the result of that was the New 52, and they rebooted the entire universe and gave everyone a nice starting off point. Well, as that continued, more fringe characters dropped, more fringe characters got brought on, and it's kind of this revolving door. Unless the title on your book has anything to do with the Justice League, Batman, Superman, The Flash, Aquaman, Green Lantern, then
Wonder Woman.
Oh, Wonder Woman, yeah, she's a big one too. So I just don't really read books much, but no, she's a big deal. So, but unless it's one of those characters, DC has little to no confidence in them, and so what they do is that after at the beginning of the New 52, they went ahead and they started this initiative the summer around last year called DCU, and as in you, as in YOU.
Right, I remember that.
It was a play on words.
Mm-hmm.
It's not, I guess puns aren't below DC. Anyway. They went ahead, they did that. They had some really intriguing things. All of a sudden, Jim Gordon is the new Batman, and Superman, as we knew him, is just completely nerfed. And then the Snyder Batman book's always good. But everything else really dropped off, and it just really irritates the hell out of me, because I've been kind of a DC guy ever since I seriously got back into reading comics back in 2012.
Sure.
And I jumped on when the New 52 came out, and that's kind of the characters I know and everything. But I understand there's a certain amount of marketing, but I also understand that DC is pretty much turned into the equivalent of the minor leagues for Marvel. Anyone who can prove themselves with a pen writing or illustrating or inking or anything, if you're above average quality, Marvel just seems to swoop in, throw a ton of money at these guys, and brings them over.
Yeah, or just flat out kidnaps them. I mean, I gotta believe that happens too.
Well, these are the same people who do Daredevil, so I'm sure they're very experienced, or at least they've run through some scenarios.
Oh, absolutely. You gotta know that. But anyways,
so
continue with your gripe.
Rah! DC, I see what you've done. No, I'm not gonna cut a promo on them. I'm not prepared. I'm not prepared to cut a promo, but I am. So, anyways, when I heard that Rebirth had happened, that it's pretty much it's not a soft reboot like DCU, but it's not quite a hard reboot like the New 52 initiative was. And
so what the hell is it?
It's somewhere in between. I believe Jeff Johns is in charge of it, and that's like the only guy I trust at DC to put his hands on anything. Because just like everyone else, just up and leave. He's the got the keys to the city. He's also the same person who revitalized Aquaman, Green Lantern, and Flash, and the state of affairs that DC would be in right now if he hadn't revived all those franchises within the DCU.
Oh yeah, it would be pretty grim without that. No, he's done some monumental things. He's created some interesting characters additionally to the DCU as well, and he's also got experience in so many different artistic mediums anyways, comics being like the main focus. But yeah, Jeff Johns is a very multifaceted, multi-talented industry titan, if I'd say so.
He's in charge of all their television, and I believe he's also the point man on all the cinematic films that are being developed as well.
Oh yeah, they don't put things on screen without his say-so either. Yeah,
well, it's unfortunate that they don't have anyone else that have the chops, because he's doing these really important big picture things, and unfortunately, I don't think he's going to be writing any books for a little while. I think he's leaving the Justice League book.
That's a bummer, because that book's been so good. And we'll get into that in a minute, but let's talk a little bit more about what the hell is going on with this Rebirth.
Absolutely. So, when I heard about it, I had to learn more about it and understand what it is that DC is trying to do. And it just feels like every year they try to do something to pique your interest, come in, all of a sudden these limited edition books sprout out of nowhere, and then you swoop into the comics shop, and then they take all your money.
Oh yeah, they're good at that.
That stung in particular with the Convergence.
Yeah, that's a few $100 I wish I had back in my pocket, but what can you do?
But as Rebirth, the initiative, I'll go ahead and get some key points out there. All right, so everything gets rebooted to number 1, with the exception of Action Comics, which will continue on the actual number of issues that have been printed for Action Comics. So the first issue from Rebirth for Action Comics is going to be 957, and Detective Comics, which will begin at 934. Everyone else will be number 1.
Yeah, that's a headache and a half, but now, what can you do?
It's just, that part never really bothered me that much, because you're going to collect things regardless, and if somehow like you're OCD enough that you can't collect comic books because like numbers are out of sequence and your brain breaks,
which happens, that's a serious thing.
Ugh. The
struggle is real.
The struggle is very real.
Too many numbers. Too many questions. Too many questions.
Let's see.
Too many questions. I'll show you too many questions. Continue.
So
what the hell is this Rebirth thing?
It's just so everything will get rebooted to a number 1. The Rebirth actual will start, and it will be kicked off by an 80-page one-shot written by Jeff Johns, And I believe he's having Ethan Van Shriver and Doug Mankey, a lot of the guys that he worked with on
Green
the Green
Lantern. Yeah, those guys. They're historically some of the best penmen.
So we know it's gonna be pretty. It comes out on May 25th.
All right, I'll write that down on my calendar.
Another big thing.
I better be impressed, or I'm gonna be so pissed.
So I also have here a list of, let's see. So they're gonna have
so pissed, man.
After May, following in June.
This is their last straw with me. Seriously.
Well then,
I'm a New 52 guy, and if that's going away, this better be fucking impressive, or I'm gonna be so fucking pissed. Put a boot up Jeff John's ass, I'll tell you what.
I know. Well, he's I don't know. The only saving grace is that he's the only person at DC that I have any faith in whatsoever, outside of Snyder.
Right. We know Gotham City's in good hands. Well, he's changing over to the Detective Comics book any month now.
Yeah,
I'm not exactly sure when, but...
once the Super Heavy arc concludes, he will be moving on to Detective Comics.
But I got to imagine then that's going to be the real gritty, murder, mystery, horror, suspense, awesome book, that you want to pick up coming out of the Gotham City nook of the DCU.
I think it's probably going to be the main focus of all the Gotham books are the things that happen in Detective Comics.
Which will be cool, because that's no longer this cool side book with, its own story that doesn't really affect the main continuity in Gotham, because now it's the deciding factor of what's going on in Gotham. It's much different. So that'll be fun, because Batman and Detective, those are two titles that I have just always read from DC since I was a kid. It's just Batman. It's just too good of a story to not read. It's just one of those things.
Well, it's one of those things. Even when it's bad, it's still good.
Yeah, it's a good way of putting it, because you're right. And it's been bad. I mean, there's been instances. I mean, not so much in the source material, although there are certainly things that I particularly as a fan do not like, and I could get into that, but I won't. But then you look at other mediums too, and you look at instances where Batman's been bad. Not to get on too far of a tangent, but you look at things like Batman and Robin, the movie, or George Clooney and Arnold Schwarzenegger. We don't have to get into that.
Yeah.
Or some of the Batman animated projects that haven't been all that great.
The Batman comes to mind.
That one, the animation is so bad, and I mean everything else is pretty bad too. But that one just got put on Netflix, and I was actually just watching it the other day and just shaking my head this is Batman when Batman is bad. But when Batman's bad, it's still good, because compared to a lot of other bullshit out there, it's still it's still good.
It's really decent. Actually, one of the newer ones that came out, and it's kind of like a Batman team-up show. It's called Batman: The Brave and the Bold.
Yeah, that one's so silly.
It's pretty campy, but it's not absurd, awful silly like the Teen Titans adaptation that they have out right now.
Teen Titans Go! Another instance where, DC gone bad, yeah, but Batman gone bad almost.
So I got this list of the Rebirth titles that will be coming out.
Yes, back to Rebirth.
So in June, we got Rebirth specials for Aquaman, Batman, The Flash, Green Arrow, Green Lantern, Superman, Titans, and Wonder Woman. And then we got new number one issues. Now, DC is taking a page out of Marvel's playbook, and then their main title characters are all going to be getting issues shipped twice a month from now on. So what Marvel does with Spider-Man and Iron Man with the twice a month, now Marvel's going to be doing that, but they're going to be doing DC, my bad. DC is going to be doing that with Aquaman, Batman, The Flash, Green Arrow, and let's see, we have a Green Lanterns book. So I guess instead of just a single title, I think they're going to just bring them all together. And
Wait, so that's going to be the only Green Lantern book being offered is Green Lanterns? Or is there going to be like a Green Lantern book as well, and that other one is sort of like a Green Lantern Corps book?
We'll find out. I need to. I'll just read off the whole list. I'm not completely sure.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
I imagine that they're.
I try to use you. I forget that you're a human. I try to use you like a computer, and like, all right. Well, I need the answer to this. I need it now. I'm pressing the button, and it's like frozen. It's frozen. I forgot. Oh, I forgot you're a human. You actually need some time to do research. So my apologies on that.
Let's see. Well, let's see. Let me. I'm going to speedily go through this list because I'm dragging here. I'm dragging. So we had those new number ones with Aquaman, Batman, The Flash, Green Arrow, Green Lantern, Superman, Wonder Woman number 1, and then also Action Comics and Detective Comics, which would be numbered as. And then we have more specials for July. We got Batgirl and the Birds of Prey, Rebirth, Hal Jordan and the Green Lantern Corps, Rebirth, the Hellblazer, Rebirth, Justice League, Rebirth, Nightwing, Rebirth, which that's pretty interesting.
That'll certainly be the biggest rebirth in the sense of the word is a Nightwing rebirth because he's doing his Grayson thing now.
He's been doing the spy thing for 2 years now.
Yeah.
I might actually start reading that again if he actually becomes Nightwing again. If I want to read a spy book, I'll go read a spy book.
Yeah. I'm sure there's some out there.
Let's see. All right. So we get some new number 1 issues here. Hal Jordan and the Green Lantern Corps, number 1. So there's your other Green Lantern book. Justice League number 1. Nightwing number 1. Ooh. And then we have more new number 1s. These are the ones that are only shipping once a month. We got Batgirl and the Birds of Prey, which, if Stewart and Tar do that book, like they're doing Batgirl, then I'll probably pick it up.
Yeah, I pick it up for the artwork. I don't know. Brandon Stewart, his writing is sort of hit or miss with me, but we can get into that later.
Yeah.
Anyways, continue.
Also, let's see. The Hellblazer number 1. So it looks like...
are they bringing the name of the Hellblazer back?
Yeah, they're bringing that back because right now the name of the book's Constantine the Hellblazer. So now they're just going to call it the Hellblazer. Which is James Tynion IV and Ming Doyle have actually been doing a really good job writing that book. It's been pretty. I've been intrigued. I've liked it.
Oh, interesting.
Let's see. Then we got Red Hood and the Outlaws number 1, the Superman number 1, Titans number 1. And then I guess going into fall, they got more Rebirth specials, Batman Beyond, Blue Beetle, Cyborg, Deathstroke, Earth 2, Suicide Squad.
Ooh, Blue Beetle.
I know. That piqued my interest, too. Because the Blue Beetle's power set is not unlike that of Exo Manowar from Valiant.
Do tell!
So, yeah, the Scarab, which gives the Blue Beetle his power, usually it does mind control on its host, and then kills everyone on the planet that they're on, and then the Reach show up, which is the name of the people who make the Scarabs, the aliens, and then they take over the world. So if they can find somebody who can actually make it more interesting, because I read it when it first came out on the New 52, but then it just dropped off like the face of the earth. And then they cut it and got rid of the book, like so many other fringe characters.
Yeah, they cut books so fast, like it's like, oh, it's not making enough money, all right, it's gone. What do we got next? Batman and so-and-so, and Superman and Lois Lane and the Wonder Woman and Triangle of Love. Yeah, let's go with that. Yeah, that'll make us some money.
Yeah, let's see. Let's make some team-up books with Superman and Batman. Batman, Superman, and then Batman, Superman team up, and then Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman team up, and then we got Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman team up with somebody else. It's going to be great.
Like Lois Lane.
Lois Lane. A lot of people probably want her to actually have her own book.
Yeah, that would suck.
I don't imagine it being too... I don't know. They could turn her into like a Laura Croft type character. No, they couldn't. No. I'm a reporter. Unless like Lois Lane was just like going to war zones to report on things, and then like...
Lois Lane is a pain in the ass. She's a pain in the ass woman that asks too many questions. Anyways, any more Rebirth titles?
Let's see. We have the specials for here. Suicide Squad, Supergirl, Teen Titans, Trinity, Rebirth. I don't know what. I hope to God it's not with the Phantom Stranger and like Pandora and The Question. We're cryptic. We're going to show... Oh, bad things are going to happen soon, but I can't tell you what they are because that's the rules. And it's just like...
Those are the characters that they need to shit can and bring back the cool ones like Grifter and friggin' the Hawks, Hawkman,
and then that
Blue Beetle and Booster Gold. Why not? That book would be hilarious and awesome.
Well, they've done stuff before, like Justice League Michigan, or is it like Justice League like Great Lakes or something silly?
Justice League Milwaukee.
Yeah, they should do some. Well, what was the name of that other title? It was one of those Justice League books. It wasn't the Dark books. It was
like the Canadian Justice League.
No, it's like it wasn't Justice League United. It was like. It was this really weak-ass team. It had Booster Gold and Guy Gardner and the Blue Beetle, and I forget what the name of it. They were just like it was just the lamest Justice League team. Like all these heroes that like their shtick is that like they have great powers, but like they don't know how to use them well. It was like, oh, we're so awkward, growing pains, and it's just like X-Men did it better than you 60 years ago. Knock it off.
Yeah, well, word, man. Yeah. That's for sure.
Let's see. All right, a few more number ones. All right, we got Batman Beyond, Blue Beetle, Earth 2, Gotham Academy next semester, Supergirl, Superwoman, Super Sons, Super Duper Ooper. No, that's not one.
Oh, you got us good on that one, you fucker.
Let's see. Teen Titans #1 and Trinity #1. We don't even know what Trinity is. I can only hope that it's something. I don't know. All in all, I think this is just another cash grab to try to build interest. Which I mean, you got to build interest, but like you're not developing any of these characters. I know for a fact DC has way more fringe characters than Marvel does.
Oh, you look at the cast of Legends of Tomorrow. Each one of those characters should have their own book. The Hawkman and Hawkgirl, if they don't have their own books, they should be in the same book. They should have a book. Ray Palmer should have his own book.
Firestorm
should have his own book. Maybe not White Canary or Cap and Cold and Heatwave. If they had their own book, it would be good. But
it'd be, they've made TV adaptation comics before. They did it with Arrow
and the Flash,
and they've done it with the Flash now too. I think it's only a matter of time before they put out the DC Legends of Tomorrow. And I'm probably going to pick it up because it's the only way I can get my Hawkgirl fix or my Atom fix. Like, that would just be a great idea for a book to actually put out. It could be like DC's answer for the Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah, it absolutely could. But they don't like you were saying they don't know how to utilize their characters the way like Marvel would be all over that shit.
It's so weird. Well, Disney, all their properties, they're real proactive on getting the most out of every franchise that they own. They've done it with Star Wars now, and then they've done it with Marvel with the films. But if you hadn't noticed, like Marvel they are investing heavily in the books. They're printing at least twice as many books as DC is, maybe 3 times as many books as DC is.
Yeah, they got an insane amount of books.
They're not afraid to pay their writers. They're not afraid to pay their artists. And they get some of the best names. They usually have some of the best artists. They invest in these new franchises. They're really trying to develop the Inhumans. Their fringe books are always better. If we were supposed to call like what would happen in a comic book war before Marvel and DC, I'd say Marvel killed them 2 years ago, stuck a sword in them, and then has been drinking fine wines out of the skull of DC. Just the DC skull, and they're filling it with wine and drinking it. Yeah, that's what happened.
Well, I mean, yeah, that's a good analogy. Sure.
It's just I think I'm just pissed mostly at this because DC, they were like, they're like they were like, "Ooh, I really started out seriously, like when I really got into comics, a lot of great history, a lot of great characters, and it's just like it just seems like the people running the show are just really, really irresponsible." I mean,
oh, they have their thumb up their ass for sure.
I mean, I don't know. I don't know what Dan DiDio does.
He fumbles, he fiddles with himself all day.
Is he like the editor of everybody? Like just calling all the shots.
He's the editor of Jerking Off. I'll tell you that much.
Because like right now at the top of DC, we got Jim Lee and Jeff Johns and then Dan DiDio, and I can understand why Jim Lee and Jeff Johns are there.
Yeah, they're in charge of like all the big decisions.
But like Dan DiDio, I can't think of anything. Like every book he's had in the past 5 years has been canceled before the 6th issue. It's like. It's absurd. Like, what is he doing? He's just like he's got naked picture of Ted Turner's mom or something.
So he's got something, that's for sure. He's really something, I tell you. Well, a little bit of background info as to the yet again new publishing initiative that DC is coming forth with to John and Jane Q consumer, such as you and I, in Rebirth. And Mr. Holden J. Orm expressing his disdain for Rebirth. So let's change gears here just real quick, and let's get into a little bit of current DC Comics continuity. Let's update people. It's been a little while since we've done a DC Comics universe update. So while we still have the New 52 to report on, well, shall we report on it? And shall we start off with what's going on right now with the Justice League and the Darkseid War?
Right. So, I mean, all in all, there are still really good stories being written at DC, but their just complete lack of faith in development of their fringe characters has really pissed me off. So with Justice League War, we have this great standalone story that Jeff Johns is doing, and he's getting all the art done by Jason Fabok. And it's really, really good art. And essentially what has happened is they've reached back into the vaults into these really old stories, and they're going to the first crossover event ever with Crisis on Infinite Earths. They touch upon the main villain in that book. He's returned in Darkseid War in the Anti-Monitor.
The Anti-Monitor.
So what happens is the Anti-Monitor comes to Earth, and then using Darkseid's half-daughter Grail, and then he ends up getting into a fight with Darkseid. Darkseid somehow found a way to manipulate death, but the Anti-Monitor had the anti-life equation and used it to take his servant of death, the Death Racer, and bonded him to the Flash.
Right, that was cool.
And then the Flash just, after that, he used the Flash and he killed Darkseid. And Darkseid's like this super, uber powerful new god. So he dies. All of a sudden, there's this vacuum in the universe. And all of a sudden, all the Justice Leaguers develop, like their powers just get way stronger, and to fill up this power vacuum. So meanwhile, Grail, she steals the anti-life equation. The Anti-Monitor reverts back to becoming Mobius. And right now it hasn't quite concluded, but there's this huge fight going on, and the Justice League had to join forces with the Crime Syndicate in order to take on Mobius because he's so powerful.
Now, I always get confused. The Crime Syndicate's universe was destroyed by Mobius, or was it Darkseid?
The Mobius when he was the Anti-Monitor.
Mobius when he was the Anti-Monitor. Okay, so they're here in our universe because of that, and that was that was way back from Forever Evil. When they showed up and their universe got destroyed. So that's why they're here, just in case anyone was like me and wondering, wait a second, why the hell are the Crime Syndicate here again? Oh, yeah, well, that's why. So Mobius has taken out their universe. They have, somewhat reluctantly joined forces with the lasting Justice League members that were not turned into gods, like Batman, the god of knowledge.
Yeah, they all actually ended up coming together. But yeah, some of the changes that they've seen, Batman sat in the Mobius chair, and the Mobius chair grants you knowledge of like everything.
And Hal Jordan's like following Batman around while he's floating around on his chair, and he's like, "I need to get you out of that goddamn chair."
And then
because you're just an all-knowing jackass.
Because Batman becomes like, he's already super smart as it is, and now he's sitting in the all-knowing chair. He becomes like way more obnoxious.
Oh, so obnoxious, but I love it. Being a Batman fan, and you know, if you read one of the earlier articles from way back on the blog, Vigilant Geek blog, you know, we did crown Batman as the #1 jerk in comic books. And this is just a great example of his, you know, that personality, you know, amplified and multiplied by, you know, 100 right there. So I got a huge kick out of that. But let's talk about, you know, some of the other Justice Leaguers and the changes they went through as well.
Let's see. Superman got bombarded by the solar rays that came from the planet Apocalypse.
Right.
And he turned kind of like this weird, he looked kind of noirish, like black and white look to him. And they made him God of Strength. Wonder Woman's already the God of War. So there's that. Lex Luthor tricks the people of Apocalypse, and he becomes the god of Apocalypse.
Fitting.
The Flash is now the god of death.
Yep. He looks cool as the Black Racer, too.
And Shazam is a god of gods.
Yeah, I forget. I read that one shot. I totally forgot how that happened, though.
Yeah, it's just something happened with the power vacuum, and then some of them are more obvious, like Superman getting bombarded by the rays that made him wicked angry and want to kill people.
Right, and then Shazam was there.
And then, and then we got that's pretty much. I think that's pretty much everybody's there because Aquaman's not in the Justice League books right now.
Yeah, why is that, do you think?
I don't know, man. Because I know Jeff Johns really likes the character, but I guess he chose probably because he wanted people to get more interested in Mr. Miracle.
Right, scot-free.
Like that's one of the nice things about Jeff Johns is he's got this ulterior motive hidden under the surface, and he always uses these books in order to try to bring back these characters that he knew when he was a kid, like the Metal Man, Shazam. Scot-free,
and all those characters Jack Kirby created along with him. You know, Big Bartha and the whole gang.
Yeah,
Barda, whatever. Barda, yeah, all kinds of good characters there.
And then you can see he's doing it again because with the Blue Beetle, they're trying him out again. Unless they're going with I don't know, because one of the older Blue Beetles, he was just like an inventor. Like, it had nothing to do with the Scarab. But, I mean, the original Green Lantern had nothing to do with the Green Lantern Corps. It was based on, he had a magic ring.
That's right. The Alan Scott Green Lantern, much different. Yeah.
And then, so that's been very good. The Batman book has always been really solid. Unfortunately, Scott Snyder is going to be moving on to Detective Comics, which... it's kind of a hard thing to deal with, but it's not that huge of a deal because he's moving on to Detective.
Right. Well, before we get into that, let's just put the brakes on for 2 seconds. And since we were just talking about Justice League, just want to mention real quick Brian Hitch's JLA book, Justice League of America, which, you know, follows its own continuity. You know, it's separate from what's going on with Justice League and the Darkseid War and all that right now. Brian Hitch has been doing his own big mega story arc involving this Kryptonian god named Rao. who has shown up on Earth to find Superman, and in doing so has used Superman sort of as sort of a reference to the people, that he is their savior and that he is there to bless the human race and give them the optimum life, if you will. Well, it turns out the whole thing is a giant hoax. As you read further on, this was a big thought out scheme from this entity known as Rao, who in fact was a monarch of Krypton at one point in time, and had the ability actually to suck the life force out of people, his followers, in order to maintain his youth over thousands of years. So Green Lantern, actually, when he travels back into time, he finds all of this out. Basically, Rao wanted to split up the Justice League when he was doing his whole plan of blessing everyone on Earth and getting ready, to take people with him in his giant cathedral in the sky. Basically, he sends Wonder Woman to Olympus. He sends, Aquaman doesn't give him the time of day. They're converting, or they're trying to convert the Atlanteans, and Aquaman has to go back and deal with that. He realizes it's become a real problem. So he's down in Atlantis dealing with that. The Flash is sent to this corporation in the future, Infinity Corporation. So basically, all these Justice Leaguers are scattered around to different places, while Rao, using genetic modification, actually modified Superman's genes back on Krypton with his parents before Superman was even born. So Superman had this affinity to Rao, and that's why he trusted him from the beginning, because biologically it was like an involuntary thing. So, in doing that, basically Rao is going to try to use Superman's blood to turn everyone Kryptonian, and then use all of that Kryptonian life force to make himself, immortal, for lack of a better term. So we'll see how the Justice League reforms and deals with that. Aquaman, just at the end there, met up with Wonder Woman in Olympus. Since she is the only god left, all the other gods and goddesses fled Olympus. She has been quoted as saying that she is now Olympus. She takes Aquaman into her giant weapons room. It's huge. It's a big building, and it's filled with anything that can be used for war, because she's the god of war. And there's tanks, and there's bombs, and there's biological agents, but she goes for all the mythical weapons, and she gives Aquaman Poseidon's trident, and she takes this badass sword and shield of some other god. So we get some reinforcements coming, and Green Lantern also knows what's up from traveling back from the past too. So we'll see, how the gang bands together and solves that one. But it's been a good read, great artwork. Brian Hitch is definitely got an A+ on that one.
Is he doing everything himself?
Yeah, well, he's doing the writing and the penciling, and then he's got an inker and a colorist he's working with. But
that's still a shitload of work. That's really impressive.
Oh yeah, and
I've been keeping up with that, not as much as you've been, but I've read up to a certain point. It's been fairly interesting. I'll probably try to get the rest of it when it all comes out.
Yeah, it's definitely something that's going to make a really nice hardcover or trade paperback. So, if you you don't want to catch up on the issues. There's about 8 issues out now of JLA. Be sure to catch it on trade paperback. It's just it's gonna be a nice thing to have. It's a great story and it's got phenomenal artwork. So. Moving along to the Gotham City nook of the DC universe. Let's talk a little bit of Batman now and a little bit of Detective Comics. Let's talk a little Batman.
We got some really interesting things going on. So like since the Endgame story arc concluded, there's a vacuum left. Everyone was led to believe that Batman had died. So starting back, and I believe Batman number 46.
Right. Right around then.
They introduced the idea that they needed to create a Batman that worked with the police and is funded by the Powers Corporation, which the Powers is a very old family in Gotham, probably one of the top 4. Probably part of the Court Owls. But anyway.
It wouldn't surprise me one bit.
So there's been the storyline. It's super heavy. We've been following Jim Gordon in his life, but then
I'll tell you, it's been super heavy, man. It's just been one of those super heavy stories to read. It's like you gotta take a deep breath and calm down after raises the blood pressure. Ooh. Super heavy, yeah. No, it's definitely been a huge change up from the norm in Gotham City, that's for sure.
So the main effect of this is it rippled out. So all the other Batman books, in books where Batman, the Bruce Wayne would be the main character, we now have a Jim Gordon Batman, and that's moved in. It's also in Detective Comics. It's also in any other number of Batman, Superman. Well, it was for a little bit.
No, they did a phenomenal job of incorporating the new Jim Gordon Batman in just about every Bat book or Gotham City related book. They had him even show up in Green Lantern, not the latest issue, but a few issues back of Green Lantern as well. I mean, she's been in Batgirl. Trying to apprehend Batgirl, not knowing that it's his daughter. Interesting stuff, but they've done a great job of course, incorporating him, the Batman Superman book, like you said, and even in not the Justice League book, but now there was one other title where he was interacting with. It might have been Superman.
Well, I think he's been in everything from Grayson to Red Hood Arsenal, Batgirl.
Yeah, just about everything. Yeah. So they've done an excellent job of keeping continuity alive and present there for certain, in across that array of books that they have out. So,
and then also that spun out of that was the We Are Robin book, which actually been very, very good.
And then along with that, of course, comes the Robin War,
right?
Which we absolutely must go over.
So the Robin War starts out when this councilwoman who calls shots within Gotham makes these laws after one of the Robins, one of these kids who get together and dress up like Robin and fight crime.
It's a whole movement, and they wear the colors, but they don't have any training. They're just a bunch of punk street kids, but
they're trying to do good.
They're trying to do good. It's a cool story. Lee Bermejo writes it. I thought he was going to draw it too, but he just does the cover art. He has another artist drawing. I don't remember who. Great book though, a book that I read. So naturally, when this happens, Dick Grayson, the original Robin,
along with everybody else, they come back.
Yeah, along with all the other Robins. You got Tim Drake, you got Jason Todd, Red Hood, you got Damian Wayne, little shit that he is, and of course, Dick Grayson more so than anyone else. As the original Robin, feels responsible. For this group of kids that, just like sort of like the Sons of Batman did, copying Batman and, monkey see, monkey do with the Batman thing in Dark Knight Returns. Well, you have the same, kind of movement, on the streets of Gotham now with the Robins. So with that, what you don't know at the beginning is that Councilwoman such and such is actually trying to get into the Court of Owls. So, in doing so, obviously, it's, a you scratch our backs, we scratch yours kind of scenario, as most of those secret societies typically are.
So then she goes ahead and passes these almost Jim Crow laws that children under a certain age wearing certain colors are to be apprehended by the police on sight. So all of a sudden, all these kids are getting hassled. They all get together, and what the Court of Owls is actually doing is they're taking all these youths and they're going to go ahead and they're going to test them. And then whoever the strongest one is, they're going to make the new Talon. Because every 20 years or so, they recruit and they train a new Talon for the Court of Owls.
Well, wasn't that sort of just like, a ruse, though? Because wasn't the whole scheme pretty much to get Dick Grayson's attention? Pretty much,
because he was always their choice.
Yeah, exactly. And then at the end, they, of course, make the deal, become the next Talon, be the Gray Sun, that the mystical gray space sun,
right? Yeah, they talk about that a lot.
that we want you to be, that we know that you are, that you're destined to be, and then we'll leave everyone else alone. The other Robins, we'll leave them alone. So he makes that decision at the end, which is really interesting and makes me want to start picking up Grayson to see how that goes.
You got to think he's playing him, although they're playing him too.
It's definitely it's one of those two-way street mind fucks kind of deal, for lack of a better term.
It's another way. It's strange because they legitimately like him and want him to be part of their organization, and in a much larger role than just being their assassin as the Talon. It looks like they want him.
They want him for like a leadership role for sure.
Almost, yeah. It's like they're grooming him for something bigger down the line, because the Court of Owls is always trying to put people in places of power and so that they can exert their control. And then at the end of the story arc, they showed all the TVs of all the people who are part of Court of Owls, but it's not just a secret society underneath Gotham City. It's all over the world. It's like this Illuminati thing going. And that's also another element that's really piqued my interest.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought that up, because I thought that was so neat. Is almost you don't really know just how huge and how humongous and just interconnected the Court of Owls actually is. And it's like, I mean, that it only took them, I think, like two or three panels at the end to really show that too, and it was just really neat to see.
I really like conspiracy angle books like that.
Me too.
There aren't very many of them out there, and that's why I really liked Archer and Armstrong from the Valiant line.
Right, I know what you're talking about.
They're the key marquee. They're actually coming back next month. I can't wait. It's gonna be so good.
Oh, I had to make sure I picked that up.
Oh, it's gonna be so good.
Yeah, they're a favorite. They're a favorite of ours, Vigilant Geek Media's. Yeah, we're big Valiant guys.
But that's great. We'll probably we're due for an update on them.
Yeah, very soon, probably within the next month or so, month and a half. But
if Nightwing really does the Illuminati thing and like going after the owls, and that's like the main focus of the book for at least 12 books, like I'd be really satisfied with something like that.
Oh, me too. It would be phenomenal. It would be something that I'd want in trade paperback for sure. So after the Robin War, though, the only other thing regarding these Robins, these crazy Robins, that you might want to know is actually there's a couple of things. Duke Thomas, who's sort of the main character in We Are Robin, he's sort of had this main mission, besides being Robin, his first and foremost, his main priority has been to find his parents. Well, Duke has finally found them, and they're not in the condition he was hoping they'd be in. Duke had been checking all the hospitals around Gotham City with no luck for months and had not considered psychiatric facilities. Once he started checking around at different psychiatric hospitals around Gotham, he found his parents pretty quickly and realized that the effects of the Joker toxin from Endgame were quite severe, and they aren't the people that he once knew. So very grim and somber moment for Duke, but also very big with in building that new character, who I've actually really enjoyed seeing come into fruition here in Gotham City since Endgame. It's been pretty interesting following Duke Thomas on his escapades.
Yeah, he's been he's linked back all the way to Zero Year. He's the one who ended up rescuing rescuing Bruce.
I forgot about that. Yeah, he's like the little kid in Zero Year.
Yeah, and it's just he's really smart doing the crossword puzzle. It seems pretty early. Seemed like another inconsequential character, kind of like how Bluebird was in the beginning.
Right.
But I think by the time Duke Thomas gets his, he's going to get his wings, but I don't think he's going to be a Robin. I think he's going to be called Lark because they mentioned a character named Lark at the beginning of the Endgame storyline when Batman was having one of his crazy death dreams.
Oh, with the aliens. Yeah.
Yeah.
You could be right about that. And then the other one was, of course, Bluebird, right? The blue mohawk. I remember. Okay, well, it'd be interesting to keep following and see. But either way, he's definitely come into a character of his own, for sure. Bummer to see what happened to his parents. They're sort of irresponsive, if you will, but they still have, the Joker grin, very eerie grin that most people have after suffering from the Joker toxin. So speaking of Joker, and this brings us to a little conversation real quick about Gotham City imposters, which is a topic I love to go over. Now, obviously, I mentioned how like the Robins are doing sort of a Sons of Batman kind of ordeal with their movement in Gotham City, acting as, imposters of Robin. And you look back through history of Batman folklore and imposters have popped up all over the place. There was this story arc in Detective Comics way back. The only reason why I know is because I have an original issue of Jim Gordon in the morgue, and he's like, dealing with all these dead bodies in Batman costumes, from all these people impersonating Batman. You look at the Dark Knight movie, Christopher Nolan, you look at all those Batman imposters at the beginning with the guns and then the Joker catches one of them and, tortures him on TV. Obviously, you're not going to have imposters on just one side of the coin. If you got these Robin imposters looking to do good, surely they're going to be met by a gang of an opposing force with an opposing ideology, and you have that in this new uprising of Jokers.
That's right. I actually just finished reading that issue today. The fact that on the streets there's like this opposing gang called the Jokers now, and right now the Robins they're not a group anymore. A lot of the lower level ones that were just trying to be something have gone back to their PlayStations, whereas they really have 5 main characters who were part of the main crew for the Robins. We got Duke Thomas, and then we got the waitress girl, Riku, and
Dre, the mob kid,
Dre, and then Dax.
And Dax the mechanic, yeah.
Dax the mechanic, yeah. And all these guys are seem like they have a lot of potential because they were all kind of grilled and trained by all the other original Robins. Mm-hmm. And they're just kind of trying to find their way. Like you said, Duke just found his parents, and now we got this development of these Jokers, and it's been really compelling. And I think it's gonna be another good arc for that. One last good arc before Rebirth.
And we do away with that fantastic book. I love the We Are Robins book, though. So much so that would be another one that would be worth picking up in trade paperback. I don't know. Just because it's like one of those monumental things within Gotham City history that, you're not going to see anytime soon.
Right.
That's for sure.
I mean, just to even simply appreciate it, there are a lot of side books that they do related to Gotham for the simple fact that Batman's name, even if he's not directly related to whatever the book is going to make it sell at least a few.
Yeah.
In this case, We Are Robin has been an amazing ride so far. It'll be a great trade paperback. And it's just a fun time. Like, it's just a fun read.
Yeah, it's great. You get a little fix of crime noir, and then also, for those that really like to cheer on the underdog, you have a group of angsty teens, in the street with, crowbars and wrenches or whatever they can get their hands on. It's like real gritty in that respect, and very violent too, especially for, a story involving minors, involving children. Very, very good writing by industry titan Lee Bermejo, who has actually illustrated a lot of some of my favorite reads. One that comes to mind immediately, of course, is the Joker graphic novel done by Brian Azzarello that he drew. It was just fantastic. So moving right along, I was hoping that you, Holden, could actually illuminate us a little bit in regards to what is going on over in Metropolis with Superman. Now, I recognize that there are currently 4 Superman titles that are worth reading as of right now. You got the title book, and of course you got Action Comics, but also Max Landis's American Alien. I've read the first 3 issues of that, and that's been outstanding. And then what I haven't got my hands on yet is Neil Adams' Coming of the Supermen. Which looks phenomenal.
It's going to be the trade paperback to own. It's that title in particular is a classic Superman story. You read it and you get real reminiscent of just like what the Man of Steel used to be.
Yeah, and I read a little article on DC All Access, and Neil Adams actually, that what you just said there, that's what Neil was pretty much going for. He's not, dealing with, a current continuity Superman. He wants to celebrate the Man of Steel of yesteryear. So, I looked at the artwork that he was doing for it, and it just looked... It looked like complete eye candy. I couldn't believe it.
And the actual story itself is one of the funnest things I've read in a long time. Just how
many issues have come out so far?
Just the one.
Just the one. Okay.
You read it. The storytelling's really good. You get like really nostalgic. It's kind of. I never used to read old Superman books, but I grew up on Superman from the cartoons, and the movies, and everything like that. So it really kind of gave me little flashbacks to how things were on the Superman the Animated Series, the one that Bruce Timm did. That was an amazing show.
Oh, absolutely. It was right along the same lines as the Batman Animated Series, and then I believe Bruce Timm did the Justice League series that followed those 2 series, and all of them were great.
Yeah, pretty much. I don't think he's done anything that's bad.
No, I don't think he ever has.
Ever, no. I'm looking forward to seeing what he'll do next. I don't know, is he actually involved on the new... The Killing Joke adaptation that they're working on?
Yeah, I think it's like pretty much just like, the old guard doing that. I think you got Bruce Timm, Paul Dini. I wouldn't be surprised if Eric Radomski was on there too. And then of course Mark Hamill voicing the Joker
and Kevin Conroy.
And Kevin Conroy voicing the Dark Knight as as was, as is, as always will be. The two greatest voices in the history of Gotham City.
Then that's so crazy. I heard it got an R rating too.
Yeah, it's already rated R, which, sounds appropriate. It's a really dark, really bloody story. It's pretty much famous it's famous in my opinion for three reasons. First reason is because Alan Moore wrote the original story, and Alan Moore is a very decorated man within the graphic novel medium, so that right there already gives it chops before you open the book. Reason number two is because it's pretty much like the concrete Joker origin that writers go to and pull from. I mean, even if you look at Scott Snyder and Greg Capullo's Joker origin from Zero Year, the Killing Joke origin was certainly celebrated within those panels, just in a slightly different way, different flavor. But so you get that, and then like the third and probably largest, most pertinent reason for why it's such a famous story is probably just because at that point in time, in mainstream comics at least, you didn't see things just as gruesome and as dark and morbid as what can be seen within that story. Now, oddly enough, A Death in the Family, which is the story arc in Batman where the Joker beats Jason Todd, pretty much to death with a crowbar and then blows up the building that he's in, thus killing Jason Todd, or so it seemed at the time. And that was a pretty morbid story as well, and it didn't seem to. I mean, obviously, it's like it's a huge landmark within Batman folklore, but it's like that was huge, and that it's like people treat the Killing Joke like it's like this
like this is amazing standard that all their Bat books need.
Yeah, exactly. And then it's like, all right, well, A Death in the Family came out like 6 to 10 years before that, give or take. And that was almost as morbid. I mean, that is, you look at A Death in the Family for what it is. It is a grown-up dressed as a clown beating the shit out of a minor, a kid dressed up in a costume. It's so fucked up. Pardon my French, but and then it's like, oh, but he does essentially the same thing with some other things, implied to Barbara Gordon, and her father, and it's like everyone loses their minds.
Oh my God. Yeah. Personally, I'm not an enormous fan of The Killing Joke. People really are just like, oh, well, it's so good. It's just like, all right, cool. So
Alan Moore didn't even really care about writing it at all.
I don't think he hates mainstream stuff.
Yeah, he just, I think it was Alan Moore looking for his next paycheck. But what made that particular graphic novel story special, in my opinion, has always been Brian Boland's artwork, because some of the most influential stills of the Joker and of Jack Napier, the only real name the Joker's ever had besides the Joker, turning into the Joker, just he captured it like so perfectly. The artwork, he was the one that was super pumped about doing the project, and then he got to work with Alan Moore. Alan Moore was like, yeah, I guess the Joker can rape Barbara Gordon.
Was that implied? I thought he just shot her and then took a bunch of pictures and then posted all the pictures up in the funhouse and made Jim go through while he was wearing bondage stuff.
Well, yeah, it's open for interpretation, like I said. No one really knows. But I'd say no. I'd say probably not.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, the Joker's all about chaos and everything, but like he's never been about like scratching that particular itch. Although he's gotten crazier in the books lately, so who knows?
Oh God, he's like not even human anymore.
No, he's just like some sort of fucking abstract idea with fucking like DNA and blood.
Well, and that's another thing about Batman, about the book. I feel like we didn't really dive into enough. Is Bruce Wayne, before he starts demanding to be turned back into Batman in a sense, and the whole "bring me to my cave" routine that he pulls on Alfred. He sits next to what seems to be the Joker
On a bench.
on that park bench, or the Joker sits down next to him, Bruce, and it's like, all right, we know the Joker knows who Bruce Wayne is. Joker knows that Bruce Wayne is Batman. Batman still has no clue who the Joker is, which is freaky as hell. But this guy, and he's annoying, and he's like pressing the wrong buttons. You can tell that Bruce is getting annoyed and pissed off, but he's like pressing the right buttons to almost like mentally make something click in his head, like that he needs to become Batman again. It's like he's sitting next to this
this creepy dude.
pale skinny guy,
and then the creepy pale guy goes ahead and says something to the effect of like, "Please don't go back to what you were before."
Yeah, exactly.
And he's just like, "What did you just say to me?" And then the next time you see Bruce Wayne, his hands are covered in blood, and he's kicking in a door, and Alfred is just like petrified because he's so happy that Bruce has moved on, but now he's regressing and wants to be turned back into Batman because there's a machine that'll turn you back into Batman in the Batcave.
Oh yeah,
and then but through the whole super heavy story arc after Endgame, you find out that Bruce Wayne is alive, and he's been spending his time working at the kids center in the Narrows, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he's got a happy life. He's got a steady girlfriend. They're real serious. Everything seems to be fitting together. Meanwhile, Jim Gordon can't handle the cape and cowl. He just can't handle being
Jesus,
Batman.
No, he's stumbling all over himself. He can't quit smoking cigarettes. He's, getting himself into one accident after another.
He's good at taking care of really minor stuff. He had some close calls with some metahuman power types. But as soon as he runs into Mr. Bloom, that criminal mastermind type that only Batman can take care of, all of a sudden, freaking everything he thought he had going for him ends up turned against him, and the city of Gotham just looks like it's straight screwed.
Exactly. No, fantastic reading going on in Gotham City, and pretty much any title. We said, we mentioned Detective Comics and the Monument murders that are going on there, and they're sort of bringing Detective Comics, at least for the time being, back to its murder mystery suspense type detective comic roots that have made the book so famous over the years. You just can't go wrong with Batman right now, and we've been saying that for months. But getting back to the Man of Steel, we discussed Neil Adams' Coming of the Supermen.
Right now, Superman, they started out with this at the beginning of the Nerf arc, and then you find out about this villain called Hoarder Root, who is controlled all social media and is using all the cameras and everything to get information on everybody, and he ends up getting the secret. And as it turns out, Hoarder Root was, before he turned himself into a digital creature, he was actually in a wheelchair, and it turns out he was one of Vandal Savage's children. You slowly find out that in Action Comics and all these other books that there are these Vandal Savage has these kids, and they're all metahuman types. And all of a sudden, it turns into this big story arc crossing Superman, Wonder Woman, Action Comics, and Superman.
Yeah.
And it just kind of started a while ago. I don't have all the books as part of to complete the story, but all in all, it's been really good. It's been really, really good.
So, you're saying that the title book and Action Comics are
they're all part of the same storyline.
So
now.
Okay, all right. Very cool, very cool. I can't wait to catch up on those Superman books then. And then, just real quick, we want to mention Max Landis's American Alien series he's got going on.
I think he's done pretty good with it.
I've been enjoying it. I've read the first 3. Like I said, I think it's an 8-book series.
I believe so.
Yeah. I think it's an 8-book series.
What it is it's a series of one-shots or single story issues in 1 through 8. Each one's a different story having to deal with a different aspect of Superman's life. And all in all, it's been a really interesting read.
Yeah, there's a different tone for each book. Like they're all just like you said. They're one shots. So and from what I understand, it has it's a lot more to do with Clark Kent, the human being, or the the alien who's posing as a human, I guess is a better way of saying it, as opposed to Superman, the superhero.
Yeah.
It's a lot more personal. It's been cool. They dive into a lot of different topics.
It's just it's like they're kind of showing like the creation and birth of Superman through these different experiences.
Right.
How he learned to use certain powers, how he deals with certain situations. Some are love stories, some are fight stories, some are discovery stories. It's just kind of this nice little journey with a lot of nice stories, and it's been good. And it doesn't hurt that DC gave him the keys to the city, saying that he could work with anybody who's on their payroll.
Yeah, that's pretty nice.
So the art's been really good.
Wow. It'll be interesting to keep following that one as well into completion, and that as well, I imagine, is going to make for a very nice trade paperback if you're into collecting such things. So we're going to take a quick break now. When we come back, we will address the urgent topics of The Flash, Green Lantern, Aquaman, Batgirl, and the DC Fringe. Stay tuned. Welcome back, listeners of all ages. This is the Vigilant Geek Podcast. My name is Andrew Puzak. I'm here with my comic book partner in crime, Holden Orm, and we are discussing the DC Comics universe, particularly in regards to current New 52 continuity, although we did express our disdain for the upcoming Rebirth publishing initiative that DC is taking in the next couple months. So let's see, Holden. When we left off, we talked a little Justice League. We talked Gotham City. We talked Batman, Robin War. We discussed Superman. And I think that brings us to the fastest man alive, The Flash.
The Flash is so good.
Yeah, The Flash just hasn't missed a beat since before Robert Venditti got on the book.
Ever since I've been reading The Flash since #1 when the New 52 started. And it doesn't matter who's been writing or drawing the book has been absolutely steadily the best, most quality thing that has come out every single month. It's been great. They just finished up this pretty epic arc. They've been going on a long time. They touched on a lot of the Flash's Rogues Gallery. He dealt with Captain Cold. He dealt with the Rogues. He dealt with Mob Rule. He's dealt with Gorilla Grodd. He's dealt with the Reverse Flash, but in this incarnation, it's Daniel West, Iris West's brother.
That's right.
And then after him, then the Flash ended up dealing with the future version of himself who had become homicidal. It is a future version of himself that he was willing to kill in order to set things right because things went wrong, and he was just like, I didn't know how to fight. I wasn't strong enough. Being fast wasn't enough.
Right.
So he goes back, and Barry Allen, the present time, ends up going to this place in the Speed Force and ends up encountering a man named Shattenkirk who...
Oh, Selkirk?
Yeah, that's him.
Yeah, he's a real two-facer, that guy.
And then his whole thing is he just knows he's been studying the Speed Force his entire life, but he just hasn't had a chance to get his hands on some Speed Force powers like the Flash has.
Right.
And then after that, we finally got our Eobard Thrawn, our true Reverse Flash.
Eobard Thawne. Eobard Thawne. I'm coming for you, Barry. So let's talk a little bit about Professor Zoom here. Eobard Thawne.
So he's got this master plan. He's going back in time and finding other people with Speed Force powers. He gets them all together, trains them, lies to them all, tells them the Flash is the most evil villain in all of history, and he has to be
Which
stopped.
isn't true, because the Flash is the greatest person alive ever. He would never turn evil. He's the Flash. But continue.
Ugh.
Ridiculous.
It's absurd.
Makes me sick to my stomach just thinking about it.
So he goes and he tricks him, and then Barry Allen gets messed with, and he makes this machine that runs on Speed Force energy, and what it does is it spews lightning bolts everywhere when it's powered.
And what purpose would that... Like, why would someone build that? That just seems like a waste of time.
They're trying to make the Flash look bad. Like, I don't understand why the police would think that, though, because it's like, okay, yes, the Flash was trying to help everyone. He's running fast. The machine works. It's blowing up buildings, and people are getting hit with lightning bolts and stuff all over the place. And then, oh, the Flash is wicked bad. It's like, well, you know the Flash isn't going to make a stupid machine like that. Anyways, now Flash is like enemy number one. He had to find a way. And then it turns out that, like, his dad now finds out his identity. He's able to clear his father's name because he ends up defeating Thrawn. Because Thrawn was the one who went back and killed Barry's mother.
Eobard.
That's right.
Eobard Thawne. Eobard Thawne.
Oh man, I lost my place.
So,
what did the Flash do next, Andrew? I forgot.
Well, the Flash defeats Eobard Thawne, obviously.
Oh, yes. And then now we're beginning another story arc.
So, yeah, but because of this machine and because of all the goddamn damage that's been done in the defeat of Eobard Thawne, the Reverse Flash, the Central City Police Department is now after the Flash. The Flash has become a danger to society, and not only that,
if that wasn't absurd enough,
the Central City Police Department has also contracted the services of the Rogues. So you have Captain Cold and friends as sort of, honorary deputies of the Central City Police Department hunting down the Flash, which makes things really bizarre but really interesting for the upcoming arc. You know, the Flash, the thing about this, the story itself is it just doesn't give you a second to rest. It's just go, 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 zoom, 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 just like Eobard Thawne, just zooming away to the next story arc, But, it's great stuff. Always, always, always a winner when you pick the Flash off the shelf. It's just, you can't go wrong. Now, let's get a little cosmic with it. Let's, maybe travel upwards out of our atmosphere and into the cosmic, galactic, crazy world of Green Lantern.
All right. So Green Lantern just finished up this really long story arc where they're trying to find out where pieces of the source wall, how they were floating, and
with Black Hands.
Yeah, they're bumping into everything, and everything's dying. The whole planets, and then Dead Hand's all depressed because he can't reanimate dead things anymore. Now all he does is he just touches things and they turn to stone. So Hal Jordan goes, finds him, then he somehow ends up working with Relic in order to go ahead and solve the issue with the source wall. The Dead Hand ends up... Actually, I forget. I don't know. But
well, basically, Hal and Relic team up against, Hal carries Black Hand in this, light construct that he's made into a coffin, and he's carrying him there unconsciously, and he brings him to the source wall, and Relic's there, and they basically just ambush him and team up on him and throw him back into the source wall, and he gets sucked in. So Black Hand is officially sucked in part of the source wall. So as of now, Black Hand is no longer a threat to anyone. They still don't know that, there's really no way of them, reversing any of the damage that's already been done in those pieces of the source wall that are still out there. But the main fissure in the source wall has been repaired by throwing Black Hand's ass into the source wall. I found it very entertaining because Black Hand is such a...
He was a jobber for forever until he got his hands on that black ring, and the next thing you know, they... like one of the biggest Green Lantern arcs ever in Blackest Night happens. He's the main heel in that.
Oh, I know. Yeah, it's he was nothing before that. Yeah, and he's nothing again. He's just part of the source wall now. He's just part of the wall that is one of the boundaries of our universe. If you so choose to believe that.
Yeah.
So after that...
lately he's been spending a lot more time on Earth.
Yeah, after that arc, pretty much Hal Jordan cleans up that mess with Black Hand, and then, he hightails it to Earth. He wants to check up on his brother and his family, and he leaves... the ship Darlene and everything up in space. He leaves that in charge of what's that alien's name he has on board? I forget. But
yeah, he's got that one who's the kid who's the nobility of this one planet that got wrecked by source wall rocks.
Yeah, and then Trapper, who's a thug that was apprehended by Hal.
Yeah.
But he leaves that, and he's on his way to Coast City, and everything seems just great, and they're at the carnival, and next thing you know, one of these sonar bombs goes off, and it leads into this current arc that they're doing right now with this new character, Sonar, who is a terrorist from this tiny region known as Medora, what wants to be recognized as a country, an official country by the United Nations.
I liked this one. I liked it because it was a lot more different.
It's picking back up. Yeah, Green Lantern.
It was
really picking back up over the past 2 months.
I almost prefer the stories when they're on Earth, because you don't really see him interact and do stuff on Earth unless he's doing Justice League stuff. But he hasn't really been a main part of the Justice League since Jeff Johns was writing him in the beginning in Justice League Origins.
Yeah, he's been gone pretty much since then. I don't think he was not a part of Throne of Atlantis, I believe.
Nope.
Yeah, so he was there for
two story arcs.
Couple of story arcs, and then Green Lantern's been its own separate thing from the DCU since that point. Which is kind of crazy to think about. So Hal hasn't been around Earth really in years.
But Sonar's a different kind of villain. He's got these bombs that are activated by noise. So So the people were cheering when the steering wheel started moving, and then it set the bomb off. And then they tried the trick with the he was gonna. When everyone started arguing at the UN, there was one planted there, but Hal got there before that. And then...
yeah, he saved everyone's ass at the UN. And then there's this whole deal with Parallax coming to Coast City, too. And what they left us with for the next issue is basically Renegade Hal is going to be facing off versus Parallax Hal, but I'm not really sure. I forget within the Green Lantern folklore where we left off with Parallax. If Parallax was still bonded with any part of Hal Jordan whatsoever, and if it is makes any sense that Parallax is here right now.
I have the answer, but unless you read a shitload of books like I do, you're not going to know it.
Well, do tell. I mean, I'd like to know.
So, in Convergence, at the end of the book, Parallax Hal
is it a
goes
Convergence
back.
thing?
Parallax Hal goes back in time. Well, not back in time. He goes with back with Barry Allen to make an attempt on the Anti-Monitor. I have no idea what happened after that because I guess everything was supposed to happen as it was supposed to happen on Crisis, but Parallax Hal wasn't in there in Crisis. So, yeah, Parallax Hal, I think he was already messed up or something. Anyways, so what happened was so now clearly things are kind of wonky in the DCU as far as the fabric of reality in different universes. So Parallax Hal has absorbed the entire Green Lantern battery. That's his shtick. Plus he's also possessed by Parallax, which is an incredibly powerful entity of fear. So,
but how is
he must have just found a tear in reality, dude, and then went back and found the alternate reality where Coast City wasn't destroyed.
Okay, I guess
and then the two Hals. Well, I've read the next book. The two Hals fight, and then you find out how strong Renegade Hal really is with that gauntlet, because he's supposed to have the equivalent of 18 rings, but Parallax has the entirety of an entire core, which is something like 3,600. Somehow Renegade Hal beats his ass. Parallax Hal ends up running away, but then something happens, and then Hal Jordan is completely composed out of light energy now. So he's got to find out what's going on with him.
Interesting.
If I don't know, I always felt that if somehow Hal Jordan found a way to tap into the will of the universe without using the ring, he'd probably be so much more powerful. And then it would set him apart from all the other Green Lanterns because he somehow found a way to do that without that medium, that ring. Because right now he's just a space cop, but he's a space cop with a wicked good gun because the gauntlet's better than everybody else's. I don't know. I just feel like the character kind of deserves that kind of respect, that somehow after all this time using will energy, he just finds a way to use it no matter what.
Yeah, well, that actually is a very strong point. I didn't think of it that way, but you're right. Interesting.
I mean, if that's the direction they're kind of taking it now, it would also be kind of a nod to what Frank Miller did with his Green Lantern on part of, what was the name of the second one? I forget. There's Dark Knight Returns, and then the Dark Knight Returns.
Oh, Dark Knight Strikes Again.
Okay, yeah, I knew it was something like that. Yeah. So in that, Green Lantern was living as this weird energy being, and he had an energy being wife, and then he goes and he he turns himself into again, but he's huge, and he scooped up all those satellites.
Right.
I think it's kind of a nod to the immense power that he ended up achieving. If that's the Green Lantern stories that we get to read, where he's more of way more omnipotent, and well, not omnipotent, but more crazier good powers. Because I'm all about powers all the time, every day.
At the same time, though, having him be how would you put it? You're in a sense you're taking a lot away from the character if you I understand what Frank Miller did in that particular story. He did it successfully and it worked, but I think to have any longevity with any character, that's
no, you can't have Green Lantern turn into an elemental energy thing and not have him get in conflict all the time in your books. He can't just retire. Absolutely not. I'm just saying the power set would be cool.
Well, yeah, but I mean, even just the way the character is depicted, like there's just a lot of factors, I guess, that would have to be considered. But I mean, it'll be interesting to see because it's happening.
Well, I mean, they manipulate with his image all the time anyway. I just, if they're going to do it, I just hope it's something cool.
Agreed, sir. Agreed. And speaking of something cool, let's cool off as we dive into the ocean for a minute and talk a little bit about Aquaman.
That's like the intro of the episode, I think. That was really good.
Woo! Let's talk a little bit about Fish Boy.
Okay, so where we left off with Aquaman, he was starting to be written by Colin Bunn, and he did his one story arc, which composed of, he ends up, he finds these refugees on this island from this this land called Thule, which was actually part of the surface of Atlantis when it was sunk. So Arthur's like, oh man, I'm the king of these people, and then, but like, there are these warlocks on the other side that are trying to manipulate everything. So he goes home and he tries to take command of everything, and then it seems that Mira went ahead and turned against him, but it wasn't really Mira. It was her sister Siren, who can shape change.
One of those tricksters.
Yeah, so now she's got Atlantis wrapped around her finger hunting for Arthur Curry, Aquaman. So,
that bitch!
Ah! And then, so they went ahead and he had to go, and he went and he talked to Poseidon, and Poseidon gave him this really sweet armor and this new trident.
He's always getting tridents from that goon.
Yeah, so now he's got powers over weather and stuff, and he can teleport wherever there's water. He's got some really cool powers now.
Yeah, I bet he thinks he's Mr. Fancy Pants, doesn't he?
Oh, he's actually wearing those fancy pants.
It's fancy pants.
I think they give him agility +2. So they're pretty swift.
Yeah, that's not going to help him much. Don't worry.
So he ends up getting into conflicts with the elite guard from Atlantis a couple times. He ends up kicking their ass. He's fighting off these invasions from Thule because they're trying to take over. Some of them are like poor people and like they have nothing to do with it, but other people are like soldiers from there and they suck. So they all come together. The Justice League ends up forming up. They go. Arthur ends up making a sacrifice of all the new toys he gets from Poseidon and ends up destroying Thule. But at first, he gets all the innocent people out with all his friends, like Cyborg and the Justice League and all them.
Oh, yeah, you got to get your bros out.
And then, so now they're settled on this island above land, and then a new writer took over Aquaman, and it looks like they're going to go for a more of a political story approach, because he's going to, Aquaman wants to build an embassy in the United States. And he's going to have Mira be the ambassador.
Yeah.
And then...
I don't know.
Well, I'm into it. You don't... I read Aquaman, so you don't have to, okay?
Thanks, buddy. No, I'm just kidding. It sounds fascinating.
And, yeah. So then they get this new arc coming up called Dead Water, where there's this thing that can appear wherever water is and kill something horror movie style. That's also part of the political thing. Well, there's the political thing going on, but then it's going to turn into the horror book kind of because this thing's like in the first book of the arc, this thing killed like 5 people, and Aquaman like probably just hasn't found out about it yet. This creepy sea monster just appears wherever water is, like even like small stuff like puddles, like Dixie cups.
That's interesting. I like creepy sea monsters and stuff.
Yeah, it looks like...
give me a call when that starts up. Maybe I'll read it. But yeah, this political stuff, I'm getting enough nonsense on the TV with the Donald Trump and Mitt Romney and Jimmy Carter and all those guys.
I just want my Aquaman to be more like Game of Thrones, okay? That's all I want.
That would be cool. I actually would dig that, but
yeah, because there's all these other families and cities down there with like there's not just Atlantis. There's probably a bunch of other ones. They alluded to it in a story arc that hasn't come to fruition and probably never will unless Jeff Johns writes it himself. and it might just come out as a one-shot and have nothing to do with continuity.
Yeah.
Or it might have to do with like, oh, this is part of my Aquaman run continuity. He could say that. He's got like all the power in the world.
He's got a lot of power. And with power comes responsibility. Responsibility for writing Aquaman. Because, I mean...
No one else knows how to do it.
Exactly. Now,
I mean, well, not completely. It's been okay at times, but it like only one time was Aquaman ever like, oh, yes, I'm picking up Aquaman. I don't get stoked for Aquaman anymore.
That's a bummer.
I feel like the character has a lot of potential, and it's really hard to find somebody who can actually do that well.
Yeah. Oh, couldn't agree more. Aquaman aside, I suppose it might behoove us to talk about, I don't know, Batgirl.
Ooh, I like Batgirl.
That's another one that I fell behind, but I just love the artwork. I know you can definitely illuminate us with some of the continuity there about what's been going on as of late. I did see an interesting cover where Catwoman was about to take her head off. Oh, that was a Catwoman cover. My bad. Anyways, I think she was with Black Canary recently.
Yes. So it was kind of a new arc when it started. It actually kind of just snuck up on you because they don't start and go. They kind of just continue along the lines. They no real compressed time there. Yeah, I'm not making sense. Whatever.
You're doing great. You're doing great, bud. Just continue what you're doing here.
Let me see.
Now, what the heck has been going on with that sexy Barbara Gordon?
Right. So, a new story.
Don't tell her dad I said that. Actually, you should tell him. I'll show him a thing or two.
Yeah. So, usually, Batgirl goes on a lot of one-shot adventures where she ends up dealing with the villain in 1 or 2 issues. And they're fun and they're quick, and then you got the overall background life stories stuff. Well, finally something big happened. This is a much longer story arc. What happened is his name's Greg. He's supposed to be like Barbara's like friend.
Greg.
He's supposed to be Barbara's friend from like elementary school, right? And then like the roommate's getting pissed off by him. It's like, this guy's going through your things and stuff. Like, yeah, I did. I told him he could look for my whatever CD or whatever. It's like. And it turns out it's this guy. He's called the Plumber, and he was this bank robber. And he was gonna go rob the place, but then Barbara Gordon busted him, and then he got arrested. And while he was in jail, he just obsessed about defeating Batgirl. And he like read a bunch of books in the library and found a guy on the outside who would build him tech like no questions asked. So he'd just mail money like that he'd have from when he's in prison to this guy, and the guy's got all the stuff made. He gets out, and so he's got the ability to manipulate dreams and stuff and go into a person's mind with this tech. And he's got all Barbara Gordon's life history, everything. He knows who Batman is. He knows that Jim Gordon is also Batman right now. He knows all about Dick and Damian. He knows about the whole Bat family. He knows about her, he knows her friends, and then he's going to take all this information and he's going to sell it on the black market. So,
wow.
So what happens is Frankie and Dinah, the Black Canary.
Dina,
yeah. She also showed up during this, and it turns out they got wise to what he was up to, but then he made Barbara go catatonic. So then Frankie and Black Canary had to go inside Barbara's head, and they had to use Barbara's old AI, the one that almost tried to kill her.
Oh yeah,
to
I
go
remember
through her
that.
head.
Yep.
And then Frankie had to have a close grip on it to make sure. And then towards the end, it turned out Barbara's head was so fucked, the only way to make her whole again was to bond her to the AI.
Right.
And that filled in the holes, and now she's back to her old self again, and now they're going to go find that guy and beat the shit out of him.
Ooh, well, that sounds like a lot of fun.
It is.
Very cool. Yeah, Batgirl's always a crowd pleaser. as is actually Catwoman and Harley Quinn. All those books, and actually, I gave the Poison Ivy 6-book miniseries a chance. I read the first one, anyways, and
I bet that's actually pretty good.
It was wicked good. It was such a what's the word I'm looking for? Like it really expanded on the character of Pamela Isley and the motivations behind what she does. She is like DC's like premier eco terrorist, and it's definitely a series that's gonna accentuate that. She's not she's sexy and everything, and there's a lot of people that see her that way, but she's a very dangerous person, and that's sort of one of the main points that miniseries is going to be trying to hit home, and I love it because it's it's going to really expand on the character, and it's also going to make the character more empowered for the future as well.
Yeah, no, I agree. The DC miniseries that are out right now are being done by people who are just of higher quality than the people who are on the regular books for the most part.
Or the Swamp Thing is another one.
I'm caught up on that now too.
Yeah,
he went up. He just finished off that zombie.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun to read. The artwork is fantastic. Now, Len Wein or Wine, I don't know how to pronounce his name.
Wein.
Wein though.
Wein. If you know about grammar, you can probably figure it out. I don't.
But
so I can't help you.
He's been working for DC for a very long time. He
was actually the original creator.
The original creator of
Swamp
Thing, exactly. So he's back doing that little mini series. That's gonna continue to be great. But yeah, all those strong female characters in the DCU, especially all their books are pretty awesome. Catwoman is like a really awesome female role for like a crime noir type book. They finished up an arc where she was sort of like the big power player in the Gotham underworld, big family crime boss, a position that she inherited from her father, Max Calabrese.
How did that work? Did she just take it, or did she get him to say that she gets to take over everything? It happened in Batman Eternal, but I'm still kind of scratching my head about how it went down.
Yeah, she visited him in prison, and he wanted her to have that position to get things rolling, and then she in turn took the position
and just ran with it.
Yeah,
until she took over Gotham.
Yeah, but she started doing things that she wanted to do, following her own agenda, not her father's. Things like using mob money for philanthropy and good things like that, and things that were getting her into some hot water. But it was a fantastic arc written by Genevieve Valentine. She has since left the book, and I haven't read the arc that has come after that. I forget who took over, but it's been a fantastic crime noir book.
Is it trade paperback worthy?
Oh, Frank Thierry. He's the one writing it. He took over that book, so he's writing Catwoman. It'd be interesting to see what he cooks up, because he's one of those hit or miss writers, in my opinion. He's got some good stuff out there and some ho-hum stuff as well. And then, of course, you got Harley Quinn, Amanda Conner, and Jimmy Palmiotti's book, and that one's good for the comic relief and everything. So lots to offer in regards to that. And then that would bring us to the DC Fringe, which actually...
I abandoned the DC Fringe months ago.
Yeah, I don't have a lot of good things to say about it either, but that might make this fun. There are a couple of quality titles that I know you want to speak about, Holden.
All right.
Right now, I know if I can just say one thing about Green Arrow.
Please fill me in.
Well, there's nothing to fill you in about, as I checked, and it pretty much goes right from where you left off, where he's got a pet wolf and then he's being turned into a wolf, and now he like is a wolf and he's just like lurking and he's pouncing on people like an actual wolf. So I don't know what the hell they're doing with that title, but they took something that when
they ripped off.
And I can't say it enough because they totally took something that was left as a high quality title by Jeff Lemire and Andrea Sorrentino. And they just turned it into absolute toilet paper. And this is a character that I enjoy. I really loved what Jeff Lemire did with the character. I love the TV show Arrow. Next week we're going to get into some DC TV. We're going to talk a little bit more about Arrow and the Flash and Legends of Tomorrow and all that good stuff. But this is a character that I truly love, and like I'm just truly pissed off at this book right now. It's like Green Arrow Wolf.
Green Arrow is more, believe it or not, it's more hit or miss than Aquaman. You'd think Aquaman would be, a little bit lamer, or the quality would be less, but Aquaman stories are usually pretty good. What has happened here is that when I first picked up Green Arrow and I started reading it, Dan Jurgens was doing it, and it wasn't very good then, and it was dragging, and it was just like, I'm getting ready to put you down now, until Jeff Lemire breathed life into that terrible little corpse that was Green Arrow.
Yeah. And it was awesome.
And then, the artwork was iconic. The story was amazing.
Jeff Lemire's run on Green Arrow is like that's like one of the few Green Arrow runs you need to read. Like there's Year One. You maybe want to read the Longbow Hunters. I don't know. Besides that, I mean, Jeff Lemire's run that's like what you want to read, But right now, like what the hell? Like for a little bit, they had Andrew Kreisberg and Mark Guggenheim,
the people who were actually doing the show.
They were doing the show, and for probably they did a quick arc, or maybe they did a couple arcs.
Well, they did what's his name, King, and then he found out his identity, and then the last time I saw that arc. Last time I read it, Green Lantern ended up saving them because they were thrown out of a window.
Yeah, they had Green Lantern at the end. I remember that.
I mean, they had some really cool, special appearances that you normally wouldn't get from the show. And it seemed like it was interesting enough. It's just that they were going for this crime family angle, and I just couldn't get into it.
Yeah, but I mean, it was still better than what's happened now. And now it's just like there is no standard again. It's like, what the hell?
Yeah, let's see. Green Arrow gets a dog. Green Arrow fights a guy who has drones. Green Arrow, in his annual, gets bit by a guy who's got werewolf syndrome or whatever, this disease. It makes people werewolves. And then, by the way, DC, or whoever that guy is writing it, why would you rip off one of the most laughed at shticks ever? They did it with Captain America. People laughed at it then. You're going to take a character that can't handle becoming a wolf. Okay? Turning a wolf destroyed Green Arrow. That's why I stopped reading it, when that's become like, oh no, he's a mutant. Once again, people that change, the X-Men did it 60 years plus years ago. And they did it better than you. Just knock it off.
Yeah, seriously.
No people turning into wolves. The only people I want to see mutating or doing anything cool like that are the X-Men. That's it. No one else is allowed. Because no one else can pull it off.
Now, if Green Arrow Wolf wants to go join the X-Men, I don't have a problem with that. Now, that sounds cool. We'll welcome him, into the Jean Grey school or what have you.
I think Marvel could actually pull that off. Well, no, they'd never do it because the amount of money and revenue they're getting from the television show is probably pretty good.
They would just never do it, period. But
well, they almost did. In the 80s, freaking Marvel almost bought DC.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That would have been like a very much like a WCW, ECW.
Being bought by WWE,
Being bought by Vince, yeah.
I guess the plans were they were going to only really hold on to the core characters and have them be a universe of their own.
Yeah.
But thank goodness that didn't happen. But it doesn't mean that the DC characters are being done well responsibly. Like, the DC characters have to have a certain feel to them. Like, yes, you got to infuse certain modern elements of things that people deal with in regular day life, but like, you got to stay true to what the creators envisioned when they did the characters in the first place. Sometimes they get too crazy when they try to reinvent some of these characters.
I tell you, they really do. It's really something. Well, yeah, but I mean, the Fringe is just, they have all these awesome side characters, and they're all like they're really just lacking.
Yeah.
I mean, I was really pumped about the Cyborg book.
Well, no, the Cyborg, the art was amazing. The story wasn't that bad. It's just I got overwhelmed by other books, and it became a casualty as part of my cut because I hadn't been reading it for that long.
Yeah, well, same here, except it bored me. They could have done so many cool things with that character. And
yeah, no, with the interdimensional people coming after, like, he could have done something about cybercrime and arresting cyber criminals or something, or they could have done any other number of things. I mean, yeah, they're focusing on, like, what's going on with him and his humanity, and I guess he's got, like, wicked crazy powers now. He's techno-organic. He can turn into machine stuff.
Yeah, I mean, his power set's definitely very cool. I don't know. I mean, I might pick the book up again, but I have a lot of faith in the character. I don't know. The book, the story didn't grab me. Same with Deathstroke. I have a lot of faith in that character too. I mean,
well, he keeps getting his own series. I thought the first one that he had was really good when the New 52 started out.
That was awesome. I read that as well. I was a big fan. And I had read some recent Deathstroke that Tony Daniel had been putting out, and it was just underwhelming. A lot of stuff with, him hunting down gods, with...
I like seeing him do, like, the dirtier mercenary stuff.
Yeah,
going against characters or trying to assassinate heads of state. Those are the really good Deathstroke stories, I feel.
Yeah, likewise. I couldn't agree with you more. Like, he was doing a lot of, like, I don't know, just bullshit stuff on Themyscira with Wonder Woman.
Yeah. No, they were doing the thing where they're making him seem way more badass than he is in his own book, and then when he encounters people who have actual quality like Wonder Woman or Superman, he just can't deal.
Well, he has that sword that was crafted by Hephaestus, who is like the god of weaponry or whatever, so like he definitely had a fighting chance against. He fended both Wonder Woman and Superman off, and it was pretty cool. But I don't know, man. Like, they need some fresh minds in there, and they need to shake things up a little bit.
I think DC should kind of move away from trying to make monthly books for all these characters. What they should do is invite young creators to go ahead and have a 6-shot miniseries with these characters. They choose a character, and I don't know, they're going to have a portfolio or whatever, so the people DC are going to hire usually good, because DC's good at finding talent. Like,
sure.
It seems like every year somebody new comes up, but it just seems like 2 years after they're there, they end up like they're on Marvel's payroll.
Yeah, they get kidnapped. That's a problem.
Yeah. The allure of money. That green color. I like it.
Money talks, BS walks.
But I mean, Marvel has a pretty good fringe too, although it's not as extensive as DC's. But I'm thinking miniseries might save them.
It's not as extensive, but it's way better.
But like the miniseries
that
have been put out lately, though, like they've been so good. So
like the Netflix stuff? Oh, yeah.
Oh, no, well, that stuff. Well, I'm talking about like...
you're talking about books still, yeah.
Well, no, I mean, it applies to both, so... Word, homie.
Yeah, no, it's I don't know. Marvel has a way cooler fringe, I think.
Yeah, no, I mean, let's see. I saw some stuff, like Doomed came out, and I was just like, no, I'm not touching that. No way. And then, geez, then the other ones, Dr. Fate. I mean, the artwork looked interesting, but it's just like another one of those magical characters, and I'd rather have a magical character I'm reading about be a douchebag. And
like Constantine.
Yeah. No, Constantine's awesome. They get this thing going on right now. This guy's in danger because Constantine's in a relationship with him. So like everyone who gets involved with him ends up getting like endangered. Papa Midnight had his like cockatrice snake rooster fanged thing hang on him and told him that he bit him and poisoned him. So Constantine has to help him break back into his house and like get past all of like his magical things. And it turns out this demon called Neron was the one who kicked Papa Midnight out of his house because Papa Midnight's got a portal to hell in his house. So the demons are coming through that, and the demons
You're
are
on a portal to hell.
the demons are buying up real estate within New York City, and they're getting
buying real estate
So that
in
they-
hell.
so that they can steal human souls.
Gonna steal your soul.
Yep. So that's what's going on there, and then they end up getting captured, and they're down in hell because they got found out. And
You're
then,
going to hell.
And then some demon John Constantine had sex with before, like.
What the hell?
Yeah, no, he has sex with everybody, man.
Jesus.
So he
Someone
makes a
needs
deal
to-
with her just to get out of hell, and they go out, and then the portal is held open by John's blood because he's the one who volunteered. He's like, wait a minute, so if I go through this, it's going to shut, and then he does, and he leaves the both of them stuck in hell.
Huh.
And then John got stuck in the fairy from William Shakespeare, and I guess the fairy are just like terrifying because they just want things that give them pleasure all the time. And they're just like crazy. So he ends up tricking one, and then he ends up breaking its neck, and then walking away because it's okay to rip off a fairy, but you can't break a contract with a demon. Yeah, interesting. Didn't know that. Didn't know it. So.
Huh.
But all in all, I mean, Constantine's been great. The first arc that they had, like, they had little stories, and it all led up to this ex-girlfriend who ended up disappearing and turning into a wraith and eating all the ghosts that used to follow John around.
Ooh, wow.
That was a really good one. And then, I mean, all in all, they've had some short stories. We had this one shot with Swamp Thing. That was really good.
Really? Oh, yeah, I remember reading that.
Yeah, the wood nymphs.
That's right.
The wood nymphs, they were brand new wood nymphs. Like, the magic in New York City has been kind of out of control. It's been one-shots up to this point.
I do remember reading that.
Until they find out why everything was kind of nuts.
Huh.
Yeah.
Well,
Constantine's been good. I'd say that between that and Midnighter, those are my two from
the
the
Midnighter
Fringe that I would choose to continue to go with because they're both really good.
Now, why don't you just tell us now just a little bit about the Midnighter?
So the Midnighter is when he was a child, he was kidnapped and he was experimented on by aliens.
Oh.
In this place called the Garden. Well, actually, I don't think they're aliens, just really sick human beings trying to make really creepy weapons. So in his head, they genetically made it so that he's got this thinking computer. He can think up to a million different scenarios and which one he can choose based on, and it can do this within a second, so he can always predict what his opponent's going to do. And he's also got like skin regeneration and stuff, and he's also, I think he's got a really high pain tolerance. So what he's been doing is just he got in this thing. He was tricked by a guy he thought he was in a relationship with. By the way, Midnighter's gay. So he's in a relationship with this guy, and turns out this guy was actually like some other high tech assassin type guy trying to trick him and kill him. And then he ended up fighting him. He ended up winning, and then all in all, the art's really good. It's really violent. He likes breaking people's bones. There's this one issue where he ended up facing off against Multiplex, and he's acting like it was Christmas because he was just like breaking and snapping necks and just
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
all the different multiplexes.
Yeah, he's a very sadistic guy.
Right now, though, he's faced off against the Suicide Squad, and he's going up against Amanda Waller and her people, and it's been actually really good. It's been really, really good. Just now, Midnighter got captured, and they put him in an autopilot flying up into the sky and set it to self-destruct. So I'm wondering how he's going to get out of it. I know he's going to, but I'm wondering how he's going to do it. And then it's been a really good title. I really liked that all those Stormwatch characters. When it first came out at the beginning of New 52, it was great, and it had all these great possibilities, and then
A lot of potential.
Then it turned into the Midnighter and Apollo show, and it got real weird, and then the whole universe got rebooted for some weird reason, which really left a bad taste in my mouth.
Oh, yeah.
And then they tried to make it seem cool by putting Lobo in it, and that wasn't even enough to save the book, and I had to get rid of it.
Yeah, I remember I was reading it at that point, too.
It appears that a lot of other people felt the same way. The book wasn't
Yeah.
canceled much for longer after that. They probably let them finish up the arc, and then that was it.
Yeah. Now, it's unfortunate because, they could have done a lot of cool stuff with that book and that group of characters, for sure.
They should have had a crossover with the Justice League, like Stormwatch versus the Justice League. It would have been great. It would have been better than that Trinity War thing they had going on.
I agree.
DC is completely inept and impotent at creating story arcs that are events. They've had a lot of them, but a lot of them really aren't of that great a quality. Marvel does a lot of them all the time, but usually they're pretty good.
They're amazing,
even though you can't
yeah.
remember them. Secret Wars is probably the best one in the past 10 years for them, I think.
It was pretty incredible, yeah.
Well, Avengers vs. X-Men was actually a pretty big deal, too.
That was a huge deal.
Yeah.
Yeah, they've had some monumental ones.
But like Forever Evil started out like, oh my god, this is so awesome, and then it finally concluded in a whimper because it took forever to come out. It took
it took too long.
It took 9 months? 9 months to release 7 books.
Yeah, that's bad form.
Really, because they wanted to get out all the other 6-issue miniseries that had to do with it. But Arkham War was amazing. I just don't like the last issue, how it ended, because he kicked Bane's ass way too easy.
Way too easy. Yeah, that should have been a lot more drag out of a fight, I'd say.
Yeah, it should have lasted 2 issues. A 2-issue brawl. Just watching them throw fisticuffs and then Batman ends up...
now we're talking. Yeah.
Yeah. Rogue's Villain, well, that was okay. Argus is terrible, and everything to do with it is awful. And then...
Except for that Stephen Trevor, he's a nice gentleman.
He's a nice supporting character.
He's a good he's a nice supporting gentleman for Wonder Woman.
Yeah, I don't really see that much of him. Every once in a while, he's in something and it's okay. But he should be in. If he's gonna be the supporting character guy, he needs to be popping up in every DC book because Argus is you never hear about him anymore.
He's really good at getting captured.
Yeah, he is really good at getting captured. That's Steve Trevor. But he's a war hero.
He sucks.
In the comic books.
He sucks. Well, we covered a lot of ground today. I'm pretty pumped. I'm pretty pumped about what we talked about, even though DC as a whole, in regards to the comic book universe at least, has been extremely underwhelming and very displeasing lately. There is certainly some diamonds within the rough there, especially in regards to, of course, the steady marquee characters that they always seem to pump all their talent into in regards to Batman, Superman, The Flash, Green Lantern.
A lot of great story arcs. A lot of them are only really 6 issues back if you don't feel like waiting for trades.
Yeah.
You could probably find some of these fairly easily at your local store.
You sure could.
And then, there's always online, but local stores seem to be pretty good. They're always trying to get rid of their back stuff anyways.
Yeah, you want to support your local shops there, and don't be buying everything overseas. Made in America, USA. So, we want to thank you for listening. Hope that you got something useful out of this extensive DC Comics update. Once again, I want to reiterate to all you listeners out there that this was our kickoff episode, our first episode of Season 2 of the Vigilant Geek podcast. Now, we want to make sure that you stay tuned with us. Next week, we have a very interesting episode where we break down and discuss some of our favorite DC television series, including Arrow, The Flash, Legends of Tomorrow. We'll talk a little Gotham. We'll talk about Constantine, Supergirl, you name it. And then, stay tuned with us throughout the season. We're going to cover all sorts of neat things. We'll certainly be doing frequent Marvel and DC Comics updates, as well as updates for Valiant Comics and Image Comics. We also cover a lot of indie projects and different independently published things that we see at cons and local works of graphic novel literature. We'll also be covering lots of topics in regards to film, including a big cast coming up this season on the Quentin Tarantino movies. It's going to be a big one with lots of special guests there. Be on the lookout for more coverage in regards to anime and manga, as well as in-depth analyses, if you will, of some of the most famous story arcs in comic books. We want to also iterate that we'll be covering more episodes on video gaming, tabletop gaming, the WWE, and be on the lookout for returning special guests, New England stand-up comedian Nathan Burke, New England stand-up comedian Mark Gallagher, and others. So we got a lot to offer in regards to Season 2. We want to thank you very much for listening. My name is Andrew Puzak of Vigilant Geek Media, and with me, as always, my comic book partner in crime,
Holden Orm,
who's also of Vigilant Geek Media. We want to welcome you to visit the blog at thevigilantgeek.blogspot.com. You can listen to all the podcast episodes there, and also find us on YouTube. We just got on YouTube, so not all of the videos are up yet from Season 1, but they should be up within another week or two. And that will eventually be the main hub to listen to all of our podcast episodes. And that's I don't have the URL. We will post the URL in the blog, but go to YouTube, look up The Vigilant Geek. You'll find our channel there. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm Andrew Puzak.
I'm still Holden Orm of Vigilant Geek Media.
And as always,
Stay vigilant.